Okay, so today we're gonna go 1,000 strikes.
Like and subscribe to the channel and join the Battlefield League tribe.
And we're gonna drop set. We're gonna start with the 10-pound 6-foot pipe. And then we're gonna go to the 16-pound 4-foot loadable sword, unloaded. And then we're gonna go to the 6-foot, 17.5-foot sword at its unloaded capability. Let's get it. 50 back, 50 forward. And then I'm gonna pick up the next item. Then I'm gonna go 50 back, 50 forward. Then I'm gonna pick up the next item, and so on and so forth. And I'm gonna pyramid up and pyramid down.
If you have good ideas, you want to spread them as far and wide as possible. It's why I'll never charge for a piece of content. And no one in their right mind who has good ideas should. You don't want to restrict the avenues. You want people to recompose your ideas. Akira the Don takes stuff that I say and remixes into music.
Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. Until this is true. Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. Until this is true.
So I realized that my steps backwards were a lot shorter than my steps forward. So I gotta get better at creating longer strides backwards, so that way it's even. Also, I didn't switch hands. So I think what I'm gonna do is, just because I'm warming up with this lighter weight, I'm gonna do 50 back and 50 more forward on the other hand. And then when I go to the 16-pound 4-foot sword, I'll do 25, switch 25, forward 25, 25. All right, let's do this.
If you really want to get paid in this world, you want to be number one at whatever it is that you're doing.
Do you know who Akira the Don is?
Of course, he's amazing. He's amazing.
And it can be niche, that's the point. It can literally be you're getting paid for just being you. You know, at this point, some of the most successful people in the world are that way. Oprah gets paid for being Oprah. Joe Rogan gets paid for being Joe Rogan. They're being authentic to themselves. You want to be number one, but you're going to keep changing what you do until you're number one. You can't just pick something arbitrary. You can't say, I'm going to be the fastest runner in the world, and now you got to beat Usain Bolt. That's too hard of a problem. But what you can do is you can keep changing what your objective is until it arrives to your specific knowledge, your skill sets, your position, your capabilities, your location, your interest, knowledge, your skill sets, your position, your capabilities, your location, your interest, and then...
All right, so I did it. I was able to create the distance, and it's more even now. I just picked up this little tracker to see if it works. So I guess I did 0.15 of a mile so far, swinging a large sword. I'm gonna try to do as little rest as possible, just to challenge myself. Although I wanna rest just a little bit to have good form. But the goal is, with this new workout, 2 in a month to 2, to be able to do this straight with maybe 3 to 5 seconds of rest. All right, so I'm gonna do 25, switch 25 in the backward, and 25 forward, switch 25 going forward. All right, let's get it in.
Converges to making you, and then converges to making you number one. Number one.
Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. Until this is true. Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. Until this is true.
When you're searching for what to do, you actually have 2 different foci that you have to keep in mind at all points. One of those is I want to be the best at what I do. And the second is what I do is flexible so that I am the best at it. I am the best at it. Until you arrive at a comfortable place where you're like, yes, this is something I can be amazing at while still being authentic to who I am. And this is not going to be an overnight discovery. It's going to be a long journey. But at least you know how to think about it.
All right, what I'm going to work on now is on my backward. The heavier that the weight becomes, the harder it is for me now to move backwards. So I need to work on that. I'm thinking that I did 50 back and 50 forward, but to be honest, I haven't quite got down my cardio. I'm just pushing. I may have lost track. So as I advance, I'll be able to get more oxygen up to my brain. Because if you're gonna be fighting with a heavy sword and you're not having oxygen to your brain, you're not gonna have dexterity. I had dexterity and full oxygen up into my brain. Then again, I didn't rest very much. So it's intense. But I'm pretty sure I just did 100 there. I'll have to look back. Now, this sword was even harder to weld. So I'm really gonna slow it down just a little bit. That way I can really make sure that my breath is in alignment. Let's get it.
The most important thing for a company is to find product market fit. The important thing for an entrepreneur is to find founder product market fit, where you are naturally inclined to build the right product which has a market. That's a three focus problem, which is you gotta make all three of those work at once. If you wanna be successful in life, you just have to get comfortable managing multivariate problems, multiple objective functions at once. And this is one of those cases where you have to map at least two or three at once.
Become the best in the world at what you do.
So I went and stepped back a bit because I wasn't sure if I was gonna come too close, but I guess I was actually getting enough backward motion there. This was just as hard as this sword. 1.5 pounds heavier, not loaded yet with any type of weight. That was interesting. These are about the same weight. It's almost fair to say that this was almost a little bit harder to swing because it's working a whole different set of muscles. For instance, I've been doing the pipe workouts now for about 3 weeks. I'm used to the way the momentum pulls. But before, you know, the pipe was harder. So I guess I'm gonna have to start adding this into my training because I'm hitting a whole new set of stabilizer muscles. It's just the way that the gravity pulls everything. Interesting. So I'm gonna go pipe this. Now I'm back to the pipe. Yeah, let's see if I can't get 1,000 strikes in by an hour and 10 minutes. Let's see what I can do.
Keep redefining what you do until this is true. Until this is true. Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. Until this is true. Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. Until this is true. Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. Until this is true.
Did 100 and 200 in the beginning with that, so that would be 300, 400, 500. I haven't quite built that cardiovascular endurance to 100%, but as I build my cardiovascular endurance, it'll become easier and I'll train all that blood and oxygen into my whole entire body. So now I'm gonna go back to this bad boy and I'm gonna really remind myself that after 25 backwards, I'm gonna switch hands to my 50 and then forward, you know the drill. Okay. I'm normally hawking loogies all over the place, but I kind of feel bad about hawking loogies on this fake grass.
of what happiness is a management issue. You could be in a shit state of mind right now, but you can make some decisions to adjust that, and over the next couple hours, you'll get to a much better place. And these constant management decisions, they waver in and out of your life on a daily basis. Like this idea that you could have a good mindset and then all of a sudden you'll be happy. That's horseshit. It's like the tide. It comes in and it comes out. There's gonna be days where you're just not feeling so good physically. That's going to affect the way your happiness level is. It's never static. It's never exactly the same. Me? I'm happy.
Severely gonna have to work on my back trots, my back strikes. But I'm really surprising myself. I believe that's 600 strikes in about 30 minutes. So that's not bad. See, I actually do think that I could complete this 1,000 strikes. The most strikes I've done on camera to date was 1,200 strikes, and I did it in about 30 minutes. And I did non-stop, no rest. We did 1,000 with a 7-pound 4-foot sword, and then we did 100 right after that with that sword that I just completed with. I'm just really surprised at how far I've come. Even though I wasn't able to do those all in a row without stopping, I do see now that in the future I will be able to do 1,000 straight, going back and forth. I do believe I could work up to that. And keep in mind, I was only doing those in place without moving back and forth, which is working your whole entire body, and you really have to work on your balance when you're shifting, because you have that huge weight. It's only 15 pounds, but it's pulling away from you, so it's compounding the force, which, you know, I don't know if it goes upwards to like 70, 80 pounds of force pulling against you. Actually, I could easily figure that out by connecting one of those hang scales and then swinging it at about the same velocity. I'm guessing that it would do about 70 pounds of pull force away from me. That'd be interesting to see just how much heavy force is actually being pulled away from me from gravity. So these heavy swords really are tough. Now everybody, it's very important that you do not start heavy. You start light. That's why you start with a 5-pound aluminum pipe. I'm using my 10-pound steel pipe. That's because I am modifying my aluminum pipe right now, and I've just worked up to it. The cool thing about the aluminum pipe is you can make it 10 pounds easily. Just gonna continue. We have 400 more to go. I'm gonna see if I can do this under an hour.
Happy as fuck is what I would say. Happy. Happy as fuck is what I would say. It's like hunger. It goes in and out. It's always there. This is something I've cultivated for a long time and avoided things that make me unhappy and figured out what those things are and been very rigid about eliminating them from my life. There's a lot of cynicism in these days about inspiration, motivation, because there's a lot of fake shit. I see a million of these inspirational quote pages run by people that are probably depressed. You know, you see a lot of people that are talking about how to get ahead in life, but they're not really doing anything themselves. So there's a lot of cynicism involved in that. But there's also sincerity in it. If you just look at it with a pure heart and a pure mind, you can get a lot of energy out of that. And when you're around happy, inspirational people that are successful, it makes you feel better. And you get inspired. And if you act on that inspiration, your life will be more fulfilled.
So I believe that's 700. I'm just gonna take a little bit of a break. I really used to push myself so hard, but I realized that that's unreasonable. I don't give myself a chance to rest. I'm not gonna complete the rest of the exercises with good form. And if I'm not completing the exercises with good form, then what's the point? So this is actually what I'm gonna be doing here in the future. I'm going to be pulling 10 pounds forward and backwards. Now I was trying to think if I would actually be able to pull the 10 pounds strapped around my waist backwards. And I'm gonna work up to 50 pounds and eventually 100, doing those same exact strikes and forward. So I might end up coming up with some ankle connectors So that way I'm pulling with my ankle. But I'm gonna try it with the waist and see how that goes. And that should really strengthen my, but I'm gonna train both with and without it, because that if you get comfortable to forcing things back mentally, subconsciously, because you're doing it so many times, so then if it's light and I'm pushing myself back, you've got heavy weight up here, heavy weight up there, and then all of a sudden this heavy weight is not here, and I'm just, I might throw myself off kilter. So I'm gonna be training one day with weight and one day without weight, and slowly go up in the weight. And that'll also give me a chance to recover as well. I believe we have 300 more.
And it's not just inspirational in terms of financial success, but in terms of doing difficult things. I'm happy. Happy as fuck, is what I would say. I'm happy. Happy as fuck, is what I would say. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that think somehow or another you're gonna get to some place where you're living in silk sheets and you're getting your toes done, someone's dropping grapes into your mouth. I don't want that. That guy's not gonna be happy. He's gonna be bored. An hour into the grape, get those fucking grapes away from me. Stop painting my toes. What am I doing in this bed? I gotta do something. The human organism, the animal that we are, needs constant stimulation because it evolved trying to find food and escape enemies. And this is the great joy that you have in taking care of your children. You can protect your children from the elements and the enemies. And it's also the great sadness that you see in losers. When I see a loser, I see some guy who's 43 years old, lives in his parents' basement, and he fucking hates the world. I'm like, that was a baby.
It's for myself. So if I get here at 96, I gotta go back as many times as I know that I can complete 100 forward without it counting going backwards. It's kind of funny, creating a punishment for myself. All right, let's see this little $15 thingamabobber. So it looks like I've almost done a half a mile of sword strikes. I wonder how many miles of straight swinging swords our ancestors did. Say that if they were just in a village and they had like a group of bandits come, and say there was like 5 men in the village and there was like 6 bandits. Do you think that the fight could last 6 hours straight with sword fight? I think so. And seeming that we're at about 45 minutes, I'm guessing 45, an hour and a half. I'll have to do the math, but that's a lot of miles of straight striking with a sword in a row non-stop. So I think my goal for the Guinness World Records is going to be 5 miles of non-stop sword strikes. We'll see if I can ever make it. With the Big Daddy, with the 17.5 pounder. 6-foot sword. Then I'll feel like I've actually broken something in history, because most likely 5 miles straight of non-stop sword play would have been at a tops, you know, like a 7-pound sword. You know, if you had like a 1.5-hand great sword or something. All right, so let's get it.
And this is the great joy that you have in taking care of your children. You can protect your children from the elements and the enemies. And it's also the great sadness that you see in losers. When I see a loser, I see some guy who's 43 years old, lives in his parents' basement, and he fucking hates the world. I'm like, that was a baby that somebody just gave shitty nutrients to, food or in thoughts and ideas and examples. And this kid developed these horrible, self-defeating patterns of behavior that led them to this point where they're this person with no future and no idea of how to get out of this rut and probably never will escape it. I'm happy. I'm happy as fuck, is what I would say. I'm happy. Happy as fuck, is what I would say.
All right. Let's get this. Okay, so now it's time for the 17.5 pounder. I'm just gonna walk down to that white line and back before I do it. Take a little drink of water, then it's on to the 17 pounder. I wasn't able to prove the weight of the long poles and the big sword last time, so I'm gonna do that today on the bleachers at the end of this. I'm debating on if I should even edit this because one of my good friends that is just getting into Battlefield League is afraid, you know, to go on camera because he doesn't know how to do his editing skills and he wants to make it more professional. But I believe that you should just start where you're at, and then if you're uploading stuff onto the internet for people to view and you're not editing it, it really, I want to help build more of a I don't care how I look type deal on the internet. Now it might be true that if I can condense it and cut it, I might have more people view for view time. It's hard to say, but we'll see. Maybe not. I'll have to think it over. I remember when I first got this seemed so heavy. Now it's just feels half as light. All right, let's get it. I'm ready.
This is the world that we live in today, and I think part of that world is because we have been fed this line of horseshit that you're supposed to seek comfort. And I don't think you are. I think you're supposed to seek lessons, and you're supposed to seek difficult tasks. Because if I just think, well, tomorrow I'm just gonna coast and eat Twinkies and watch TV. Oh, hello sadness, my old friend. Hello depression. Because when you're not doing anything, you feel like shit. And that's just a part of being a human being. And we can pretend that we're something other than what we really are. And we can pretend, nah, me, man, I'm just cool, just chilling, doing nothing. Bullshit. You're a fucking human. You evolved from the fucking hundreds of thousands of years of hunters and gatherers and people that were struggling. Human reward systems are carved deeply into your DNA. And if you don't respect that, if you don't respect the mechanism of happiness and fulfillment and what you really need to do in order to feel satisfied in life, camaraderie, family, struggle, learning are imperative. They're all a giant part of being a person. I'm happy.
All right, I believe that's 1,000. Proud of myself, I got it done in 59 minutes. So if I can get that done in 59 minutes with a 10-pound, 6-foot pole, a 16-pound sword that's 4.5 feet, and a 6-foot sword that weighs 17.5 pounds, absolutely you guys can get it done in 30 minutes to an hour with a 5-pound pole. No matter who you are or what your fitness background is, because of the rotational strength that you're gonna get. And this by far, I believe, is one of the greatest rotational exercises that you can do, if not the best, because you're going both ways, especially if you're in some type of fighting sport. You're crushing your, you know, starting from the back of that foot and going forward. I highly, highly, highly recommend this. And if anybody's a doubter, you know, you don't grow in life if you just continue to do the same things. It's really funny, we do things for so long the same way in history because somebody who's in a position of authority, or we think they're so smart when really they just understand people and communication skills, are in a place, and you have all these other people that are actually a lot more smarter, a lot more knowledgeable, but they're not in the main frame, in the mainstream, actually showing you and telling you new ways to get your rotational strength. Here's the thing, I mean, I could go to the gym, I could lift weights, but I choose not to. I just choose to swing swords because I believe I'm building cardiovascular strength. I'm building a body while doing it. I mean, I'm only using swords. So that's not to say that one way is better than the other. We should always look outside of what we know and try new things and see how they can benefit us in our life. And my cardiovascular system has gotten almost twice as good as it has from 3 weeks ago, because I could barely swing that sword right there for more than 5 reps. So my strength and my cardiovascular system in just 3 weeks has gone through the roof just through consistency. Now, I also did this. I haven't been training every single day. I've been resting, and I believe that that's good that I was resting, because I probably wouldn't, if I would have been doing this every single day, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that much, because I don't think I was actually recovering enough. So how I'm gonna go from now on is I'm gonna do that workout, and then I'm gonna go to that 10-pound pipe, or your aluminum pipe. That's 5 pounds. If you work your way up to 10 pounds, you do 1 day with the 10-pound pipe, and then you unload it, and then you have your aluminum pipe, which is what I recommend. And yeah, you just continue to go up there in strength and explosive strength and stamina, raw stamina. Yeah, that's gonna be my goal. Let's see how many miles I did. I did 0.57 miles. So if I can do that, straight with a 17.5 pound giant sword for 5 miles with let's say like 10-minute rests every 100 strikes, that's my goal. We'll see if I can't achieve that within a year. All right, well, thank you everybody, and I enjoy your company. Hopefully you enjoyed my company. Like, subscribe, and share this video, and let's get ourselves healthy. Let's build a healthy cardiovascular system, and let's build some muscle and some stamina along the way. Until next time.
Happy as fuck.